Good evening, all. I didn't give the 1 minute warning, forgive me. Welcome to the regular council meeting of Tuesday, July 8th, 2025 at 4:40 PM in council chambers and via Zoom. We acknowledge that the town of Kirkland Lake is located on traditional and unceded territory of Indigenous peoples. We recognize the presence of Indigenous people in our community since time immemorial and honor their stewardship and care of these lands. We hereby affirm our continued commitment and responsibility to reconciliation. Item number 1, call to order and a moment of silence. Item number 2, approval of the agenda. There is an administrative amendment to allow for renumbering of bylaws noted in sections 8 and 5. I will have Madam Clerk speak to this. Oh, sorry. Moved by Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Owens. Thank you.
Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, July 8th, 2025, be approved as amended to allow for the remembering of all bylaws noted in sections 8 and 15 to be enumerated as 25,038 through to 20,045. And finally, that section 15 of procedural bylaw number 1575 as amended be suspended to allow for a recess to hold a public meeting prior to the commencement of regular business noted in section 4 petitions and delegations.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 3, declaration of pecuniary interest. None noted at the table. At this time, we will take a recess for the public meeting. Okay, and welcome to the public meeting of proposed zoning amendment application 12 Station Road South. Call to order at 4:42. Item number 2, declaration of pecuniary interest. There are none at the table. Item number 3, summary of reports, proposed zoning bylaw amendment 12 Station Road South. Jenna McNaughton, planning administrator.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to council, we've received an application for a zoning amendment at 12 Station Road South. The applicant has requested to rezone the lands from residential low density R1 to residential high density special exception 4 for the purpose of permitting 6 residential units within the existing building. So the applicants are looking at redeveloping the existing building for the residential use. And as the zone is only R1, it does not permit the apartment buildings. The exception zone is needed to recognize a reduced minimum lot area, a reduced interior side yard setback, a reduced lot frontage, and a reduction of the number of required parking spaces to 6. The property is located in the residential zone as designated by the official plan. It does have 1 vacant building and an accessory garage on the property. The accessory garage is being proposed to be demolished prior to the redevelopment project commencing. The property is accessed from Station Road South and does have access to the municipal water, sanitary, and storm services. In regards to the planning review, the provincial policy statement 2024 does support the redevelopment of buildings for additional housing options. The growth plan for Northern Ontario encourages a diverse mix of land uses where employment, open spaces, and housing are located easily accessible to this. The town of official plan permits a range of housing types and densities, which includes apartment buildings. Residential development is encouraged through the intensification and infilling of the urban settlement area. So that just means that we encourage the development within instead of outside of the existing boundaries. And it does align, the proposed amendment aligns with the policies, goals, and objectives of the entire official plan. In regards to the zoning bylaw, as mentioned, it is being proposed as a special exception zone, as the current lot doesn't meet the minimum requirements. The footprint of the building will remain the same, and there are as it will be a 6-unit building, there will be 6 parking spaces made available. The zoning bylaw requires you to have 1.25 parking spaces per unit. However, that's why the exception zone is being proposed. The Planning Advisory Committee met on June 26th to review this. And they made the recommendation that we do proceed with approving this. In addition, the applicant is in the purchasing a portion of land adjacent to 12 Station Road. This was presented to council on April 1st. At this time, the land hasn't been purchased due to the requirements of needing a survey, and it does take some time to have that completed. The additional land will help with yard space, additional parking, and that side yard setback. I think that's. And it does, when we look at our corporate strategic plan, it does align with investing in those areas for residential growth. When I did receive one call from the public as a result of the circulation, and there were some concerns about the congestion in the area with the school zone, specifically around school time. However, we do believe that with having the parking spaces on site, that should alleviate it. It won't cause any additional vehicles to be parked on the side of the road, as the lot will have sufficient room for the tenants to park. There were some concerns about drainage from the property, but it is being directed into the laneway. And typically that's what laneways are designated for, is that storm drainage. That's pretty much all I have for this, so.
Thank you for that report, Ms. McNaughton. Item number 4, confirmation of notice. Madam Clerk, how was notice given?
Certainly, Madam Mayor, notice of the public meeting was given in accordance with the town of Kirkland Lakes notice bylaw 2247 by publishing said notice on the town's website more than 14 days in advance, and as of June 4th, 2025, supplemental notice was published again through the town's various social media streams in July's municipal update and within local radio broadcasts.
Thank you. Item number 5, correspondence received. Madam Clerk, was there any correspondence received from members of the public surrounding the zoning amendment?
Madam Chair, I confirm that no correspondence is received by the clerk's office in relation to the proposed amendments of zoning bylaw.
Thank you. Item number 6, comments, questions from members of the public. Before I ask my next question, I would like to remind all members of council that this is a public meeting, therefore there is no discussion or debate with members of the public. Madam Clerk, has anyone registered to provide comments or pose questions in person or electronically?
I confirm that no one has asked the clerk's office to register or to request to participate electronically in this public meeting this evening.
Thank you. I will now invite members of the public to line up in the center aisle. You will each have an opportunity to provide comments or pose questions. You may only speak once. And please, as always, state your name and address for the clerk. So if anybody's interested in speaking on this matter. Okay. Thank you very much for entertaining that. Item number 7, considerations of proposed bylaws. There are none. Madam Clerk, yeah. Oh, sorry. Oh, that's okay. Madam Clerk, please read the directions stemming from this public meeting.
That council received the comments, questions from members of the public, and finding that the proposed bylaw amending zoning bylaw 2132 to rezone 12 Station Road South from residential low density R1 to residential high density special R304 as presented be brought forward for 3 readings on July 22nd, 2025.
Thank you. This is the recommendation moving forward. Item number 8 is adjournment. This concludes the public meeting for the proposed amendment of the zoning bylaw. B9. Thank you, everyone. Okay, we will now rise from recess to go back into the regular meeting of council. Item number 4 is petitions and delegations. There are none this evening. Item number 5, acceptance of minutes and recommendations. 5.1, council minutes, June 17th, 2025, moved by Councillor Owen, seconded by Councillor Ranger.
Be it resolved that council approve the minutes of the following meeting, minutes of the regular meeting of council held June 17th, 2025.
All in favor? Opposed, not noted, item carried unanimous. Item number 5.2, minutes ALCOA, May 27th, 2025. Moved by Counselor Owen and seconded by Counselor Kylie.
Be it resolved that council adopt the minutes of the following meeting, minutes of the Kirkland Lake Community Adjustment held May 27th, 2025.
All in favor? Opposed, none noted, item carried unanimous. Item 5.3, minutes DSAT, May 21st, 2025, minutes NAF, May 8th, 2025, moved by Counselor Ranger, seconded by Counselor Owen.
Be it resolved that council receive the minutes of the following meetings, minutes of the District of Temiskaming Social Services Administration Board of Directors held May 21st, 2025, and minutes of the Northeastern Public Health Board of Health held May 8th, 2025.
All in favor? Opposed, none noted, item carried unanimous. Item number 6, reports of municipal officers and communications. 6.1, Town of Kirkland Lake Student Bursary 2025 recipients. This will be brought forward by Chief Administrative Officer Alan Smith. May I have a mover? Counselor Kylie, seconded. Sorry, by Counselor Ranger.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 CAO 11 entitled Town of Kirkland Lake Student Bursary 2025 recipient be received for information.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, you may proceed.
Madam Mayor, two members of council. This is the second year of the Town of Kirkland Lake Student Bursary. This is an award valued at $1,000, which is to be distributed evenly on an annual basis to 2 graduating students, $500 to one student from ESCEN and $500 to one student from KLDCS. On behalf of the Town of Kirkland Lake Administration, congratulations both to Eden Turner of KLDCS and Sawyer Noah from ESCEN, both recipients of the 2025 Town of Kirkland Lake Student Bursary Award. Both essays from these students were very well written, and we wish them both success in their future careers. Maybe one day they will look at municipal government as a career.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on that from council? I do want to thank Counselor Owens and Counselor Dykens for attending the graduation ceremonies this year in my stead. I do appreciate it, and I'm sure the our youth appreciate having that personal touch of being seen by our council members. So thank you for that. All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimous. Item 6.2, supplemental request for offers 7 and 9 Main Street, 70 Balsam, 72 Balsam Avenue, and part of mining claim L1829 Old Tennis Courts. This will be presented by Planning Administrator Jenna McNaughton. May I have a mover? Counselor Owen and seconded by Counselor Kylie.
Be it resolved that report number DEV 23 entitled supplemental request for offers 7 and 9 Main Street, 70 Balsam Avenue, 72 Balsam Avenue, and part of mining claim L1829 Old Tennis Courts be received for information.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to council, I'm presenting this report on as the request for offers for the various properties from when we began this process back in February. So we put that request for offers out April 1st. We brought the offers in, and 7 and 9 Main, 70 Balsam and 72 Balsam were approved at that date. And then June 17th, we presented another report for the Old Tennis Courts. So in regards to 7 and 9 Main Street, we have 3 buyers, Scott Cohat, Jonathan Byron, Vincent Parent, who submitted the offers for the 2 properties. They intend on merging the 2 lots and constructing 2 triplexes. The intent is to register a 2-year build clause on this. 70 and 72 Balsam, we received the offer from Jenny Pong. The lot will be sold under 2 different names. As if it was sold to the one applicant, the lots would merge on title. Again, we will have a 2-year build clause that is registered on this property. And the Old Tennis Court, Scott Cohat, Jonathan Byron, Vincent Parent submitted an offer for this. The applicants intend on constructing a mixed-use commercial residential property. The 2-year build clause will also be registered on this property. So this is just the open session report that's being provided for information purposes.
Thank you for that. Any questions or comments from members of council? None noted. All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 6.3, supplemental request to purchase 3 McKelvey, may have a mover. Counselor Ranger, seconded by Counselor Owen.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 DEV 24 entitled supplemental request to purchase 3 McKelvey Avenue be received for information.
Thank you, and this will also be presented by Jennifer Mountain, Planning Administrator. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through to council. This is a request that supplemental report and a request to purchase for 3 McKelvey Avenue. On May 6th, we had presented the offer from Jenny Pong for $2,500. And for 3 McKelvey, this property was vested into the town's name in 2019. There is a building on the property. The applicant is intending on bringing in an engineer to assess the building with the intent of either rehabilitating it or demolishing it. So we are looking at registering a 1-year clause on this property in regards to that. I think that's pretty much it on this.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. Any comments or questions on this from members of council? Counselor Owen?
It's just through you, your worship, it's just out of curiosity. Why 1 year instead of 2 on this property?
Through you, Madam Mayor. We're looking at having something done within the 1 year. So because there's already a building there and it's in a deteriorated situation, we'd like to have it at least assessed and a plan brought forward to us within that year time frame. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further from members of council? All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 6.4, proposed council vacancy policy. This will be presented by Municipal Clerk Jennifer Montroy, moved by Counselor Ranger, seconded by Counselor Kylie.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 ADM 7 entitled proposed council vacancy policy be received, and that council approve the proposed council vacancy policy as presented, and finally that the council vacancy policy be numbered and inserted into the corporate policy manual. Through you, Madam Mayor.
Sorry,
It's okay.
you may proceed.
Good evening, members of council. The report before you this evening was intended to lend to the discussion on, hold on 1 second here. I don't have the right.
Your notes.
Well, now that I don't have my notes in front of me.
Mhm.
So, the intent was, for the council vacancy policy, in the past, it's been, when there is a vacancy on council, it's been brought, a report's been brought and the various opportunities, to fill those vacancies were done so at an ad hoc basis. I wanted to put a policy in front of council to try to, streamline, all the options rather than it being every single time bringing the same thing over and over again. It's also important because the strong mayor powers were enacted on May 1st, which led to a change in the filling of the office of the mayor vacancy. Insofar that if there isn't a vacancy in the office of the mayor, if the council wanted to appoint a mayor, that the strong mayor powers no longer applies to the town. So it would only apply to the town if there was an actual by-election. So the 4 options to council in the proposed policy for filling a councillor vacancy are to appoint somebody that was a previous candidate in the election, or do a call for nomination, or do a call for nomination, do a by-election. I'm missing one. Oh, or a member of council, no, a member, it's for. I apologize, this happens if they don't have my notes in all frazzled.
More for mayor, 3 for the other.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you. So it's 3 for
I remember.
councillors. So, to appoint, the next person, from the election. To do a call for nomination or to go and do a by-election. And then for the office of the mayor, it's either. Do you ask a member of council, sitting member of council, if they'd like to fill a vacancy? Appoint the next person from, that was in the actual election. That was next in line, or do a call for nomination, or hold a by-election. So ultimately, the policy brings forward all your options in front of you. The report spoke to some recommendations based on the research that was conducted from other municipalities. That's not necessarily the recommendations that would be put forth if there was such a vacancy that happened, because it could happen at any point in time in the term. So the recommendation of staff could be fluid. And it's not necessarily that it would be in that order as noted in the report. So for that, I'll leave it at that, and if there's any questions, I'll field them.
Okay, any questions from members of council? Councilor Ranger.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I didn't see it in the report, but is it also an option to have the, no, I guess not, the cycling acting mayor? Because I'm just looking at how close to the next election that would be a possibility, but again, it would be fluid depending on if and when the mayor specifically, that seat became a vacancy.
I think it's been on.
I can speak to the legislative requirement,
Right.
through you, Madam Mayor.
Mhm.
So if the vacancy doesn't need to be filled by council, if it's within 90 days of an election.
Okay. Yeah.
But if council decides that it wants to fill the seat within 60 days, you wouldn't want to have an acting position, you would want to have a standalone position. So, that would trigger, the filling of the appointment.
Thank you.
Councilor Owen.
Through you, your worship. I'm of the opinion if it ain't broken, don't fix it. I've been through this process once. And the council was made aware of its options of what it could do. Council had a discussion. A decision was made. And what council desired was followed. I've also, in my time in Kirkland Lake, seen two other times that I can remember where a vacant position on Kirkland Lake Council was filled. The one time I don't recall what way they went. The other time they appointed someone. Okay. Right now, Armstrong Township is in the process of looking for a new counselor, and they've invited applications. I don't see the need for this policy. We have a system, it's laid out in the municipal act, our options are very clear. All this is laid out in legislation. And it's worked in the past. So, you know, like I say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's my attitude. This just adds more layers of forms and complications, and it doesn't work for me. And I mean that in the most respectful way. That's just the way my mind works.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, Madam Clerk.
Sure, certainly. I can appreciate, your comments, Counselor. Right now, the reason why the policy is being presented to council is because whatever decision council makes, administration doesn't have any processes or procedures in place on how would undertake the collecting of information to continue with the decision of council. So for example, if council decided that it wanted to do a call for application, clerk's office doesn't have an application form for that. It has to have an application form for that because we need to be able to intake personal data information, and most of the notices need to come in writing. So by having those informations already available, it streamlines the process for the individuals that would make the call, that would be applying for the call. Same concept for the appointment. It's a document that clearly delineates not the requirements, but the options And when the options are presented in an accountable and transparent fashion, if the council decided that it wanted to appoint somebody, then the appointee would have a document to say, okay, this is what's gonna happen. They're going to appoint me, they're gonna make a decision on whether or not I'm gonna be appointed. I have to put it in writing, because it says here I have to put it in writing. And then after that, council's gonna bring a staff report, I'm gonna be sworn in. So it's a document outlining from start to finish, the actual steps that are required if council makes decision A, B, C, or D in the D for the office of the vacancy in the office of the mayor. So that was the point of the policy, was to be accountable and transparent with the options that council has in order to fill the vacancy.
That seems to make sense. It's more about, like, sorry. It's more about the procedures of what happens after we make the decision more so than laying out. Okay. Anything further from members of council? Okay, all in favor? Is there discussions?
No, they went on. We're good.
Okay, item carried.
Did you call opposed?
Yes, I did. And, but then
No,
he
you
stopped me. So
I
when
didn't,
I then,
no, I just.
sorry, the way you did it, sorry, I do apologize. I can do it again. I did note that there was opposition at the table. That's why I said item carried. Because I saw a weird gesture that I stopped to say, is there more comments? So,
It took me a.
yes, it's fine. We're gonna do it again,
Okay.
okay? All in favor? Opposed? Item carried. Item number 6.5, proposed amendments to notice policy, moved by Counselor Ranger, seconded by Counselor Owens. Sorry.
With the C.
Yeah. With the C, yeah, that also.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 ADM 008 entitled proposed amendments to notice policy be received. And that a public meeting be held on Tuesday, July 22nd at 2025 at 4:40 PM. To receive comments from the public on proposed changes to the town's notice policy as presented. And 5, that the updated notice policy as presented be brought forward for 3 readings on that same night of July 22nd, 2025.
Thank you, and this will be presented by the municipal clerk, Jennifer Monroy.
And she was ready with her notes.
There we go.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. Based on several comments, and changes in the legislation, the town's notice policy, is being presented you, this evening for amendment to fall in line, with the public exchange of council agendas. A notice policy is required under the Municipal Act and is also the key procedure that drives accountability and transparency, of the public opinion in the corporate business decisions made by council. It sets how formal notice will be given for those things that are required in law and for other things where the law is silent, for how long notice will be given, in what formats it'll be given in, and how early in advance or for how long it will be given for. Where the law has been silent on notice, this document is how council guides us, administration, in processing those items when directed to do so. So to help the discussion this evening, public notice in its simplest form means something formal coming from the town on a topic or discussion and or decision being made by council. Certain laws establish exactly what those public notices need to look like, while others, like I said, are silent. For example, the Planning Act provides detailed notice requirements related to municipal decision-making. There's information on the form, the manner, and the time is almost always included. However, they are not, where they are not, there is a gap, and this notice policy fills that gap. Another one is under the Municipal Act, it says that a municipality must provide notice to the public prior to the passage of an operating budget, but it doesn't say for how long, what medium to give the notice in, and how long to give the notice for. And lastly, the Municipal Act says that a municipality must hold a public meeting prior to passing user fees. However, it doesn't say for how long, what medium to give notice in, or for how long to give that notice. Public notice is often mistaken with notice as in council's procedural bylaw for the publishing of business agendas. These are 2 different things. However, in order for us to be successful in the business, to complete the business of council, these things need to be, must work together in order to be accountable and transparent to the public. A public meeting is typically a statutory requirement. where the council feels that an issue or certain issues are of compelling public interest, it may call for a public meeting for other matters. For example, under the municipal act, council must pass a procedural bylaw, and that procedural bylaw is supposed to identify how public notice is given in the meetings, but it is silent on whether a public meeting should be held for the public to weigh in on that. So this notice policy provides the silent parameters to this. Also important to note, everybody receives information differently. However, entertaining every method and every additional method comes with a cost. For the better part of 5 years, in an effort to evolve with technology, to reduce costs and to reduce scheduling deadline issues, the municipality has identified the town's website as its main place for publishing official public notices and bylaws. However, administration have ensured that where items are of compelling public interest, that they're also included as part of a social media mediums, newspaper advertisements, public facing publications, email distribution lists, and through local and media and radio broadcasting. In determining whether notice provided is reasonable, council must determine whether 5 days versus 14 days is enough time in a form and manner, and at times required to reach those individuals who might be most likely affected by the subject matter. Administration also engaged for a public survey in the beginning of October and through to the end of November 2024. It was clear from those who participated that they are receiving their information from various mediums. However, all but one did not note that they were getting that from the town's website, so this is good. When asked what the other methods of communication we could use to supply information to them, none were noted. There were also no mentions in the comments of the existing form, manner, or timing of notice. Comments received by staff is that the town has significantly increased its communications with the public to notify them of business in a continuously routine fashion. And given the challenges noted in the report, administration does not believe that any timing changes are required in the notice policy, meaning it believes that keeping the 14-day time period for the posting of public notice and presentations of bylaws and a 7-day time period to give public notices of passage of the budget is working relatively well. That there have only been a couple of instances where council have lifted procedure to expedite bylaws, but those were anomalies where contracts were ready to be executed. And administration have in the past, were weighing in speed to start programs and projects, have recommended lifting procedure. However, this council was not receptive to lifting those procedures. Therefore, council has the right to lift procedure where it feels as though there is compelling reason to do so, and it remains an option in those circumstances. Therefore, given that the survey has taken place in the public and they weighed in on what was the previous notice policy of council, administration is recommending that a public meeting be held to get comments and feedback from the public prior to making a decision.
Thank you for that summary. Questions and comments from members of council? Councillor Owen?
Yes, through you, your worship. I have one question. And it's really more of a clarification, I guess. It's at the first sentence at the top of line 4, where the clerk identifies the council agenda package compilation may run into the weekend, despite the procedural bylaw manner of notice establishing an agenda may be published no later than 48 hours prior to the meeting. An abridged council agenda could be published on the Friday to the town's website to ensure that the proposed notice of provisions are not offended due to the delays in publishing. To me, it's important that the agenda comes out on the Friday at noon or thereabouts. Council needs time to go over it. And council is not our only obligation or job. So we need the time. I'm just wondering under what conditions that this might apply. I'm sure there's legitimate conditions, but from where I'm sitting as a councillor saying it's important that we have it on time. So I'm just wondering what conditions would lead to a variance from that.
Thank you for that question. Madam Clerk?
Certainly, through you, Madam Mayor, and Councilor. Council, just to be clear, council receives its agendas on time every time. When it comes to the notice provision, however, the clerk's office hasn't always been able to provide council with its agenda packages on Fridays, which is way more than the 48 hours notice requirement. But in terms of the notice provision, where we wouldn't be able to give you your notice packages on the Fridays, this would trigger us not meeting public notice with the proposed notice policy with the 5 days that we have presented for you this evening. This is probably going, as things get more complicated in the reporting and the projects become more complex, it could materialize in us not being able to publish the agendas on Fridays, which means we would have to publish an agenda without all of the supplemental information to bring notice to the public that there's going to be this bylaw coming at this meeting, that there's going to be this item coming at this meeting. But the items may not be published until like the Saturday rather than the Friday. So in order for us to meet the actual notice provision, we would have to put that abridged agenda on the website to say, we are going to meet the notice provisions. This is what's coming down the pipeline. Council will receive their agenda package in a timely fashion within the 48-hour window.
Follow up?
Thanks for the clarification. I just was a little confused about that. Thank you.
Councillor Owens?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for you. This report struck a chord. Right up Saturday morning when I was drinking my coffee, and there's a line there that set me off, the surrounding alleged barriers. That just, it gave me the impression that council has, but I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, things are slow. Things are slow when it comes to get something through town hall. When we first got on board on council, 2018, I went back and checked some agendas, we would get reports. And bylaws were presented to us at the end of the meetings. Report, bylaw, things would move, and I'm not saying it's a perfect world, like it worked, it seemed to work back then, and at one point something changed. And we went to this 14-day, like. I was gonna say amen, not that I'm religious in any way, shape, or form, but when we finally passed those properties, this came to us 6 months ago. And we're still talking about it. But like something doesn't seem to be working, and now to read 14 pages of report and to be told, oh no, well, staff doesn't recommend, we've gone through this report. The staff doesn't recommend it changing anything, just leaving it as it is. What's the point? Like, it's frustrating for residents to deal with town hall at times, because there seems to be layer over layer over layer of red tape and bureaucracy and paperwork. And this is an example, like where you did a lot of work on this. I applaud the work, but in the end, you're saying, well, we don't recommend it changing everything. 14 days is normal. And what was the point of it?
Thank you for that. I think part of it is born, again, there is, strong mayor things built in as well, like anything else. And two, yes, I think part of it is born from, members of the public and council vocalizing the frustration of how long it takes to do things. And so I think it was an exercise of our staff wanting, to do things quicker, but ultimately nothing changed. And so I do think you're right in that, but I do think it is a matter that staff listened to us voicing our frustration. But I think either the CAO or the clerk can answer to that more succinctly than possibly I can.
Yeah, you go.
Sure, you got it, Mayor, and to Councillor Owens' point, I understand optically what it means. I'm presenting a report that's saying, here's 5 days notice. but I'm not recommending 5 days notice. I'm just recommending we stick with 14 days. And ultimately, I'm stating that we should stay with 14 days. I'm recommending it because it's industry practice. For first and foremost. Secondly, I didn't see any. I didn't see any objections from our senior management team that the current system is not working, with the exception of certain circumstances where the time frame could have delayed items, but in those circumstances, staff would be more than happy to continue to offer in the recommendation that council could lift procedure. However, the problem that's happened in the past was that when staff did recommend lifting procedure, it was not met very well. And it was identified as though we were trying to move things to the staff's delight, I guess. I don't know how else to say it. And that is not the case. It was simply trying to move things so that they are happening in a faster forward fashion. So I'm cautious in recommending that our senior management team recommend that we lift procedure to circumvent things, because that means that there's a procedural bylaw issue that we need to review, which is coming at the next meeting. But at the same time, where it's up to the CAO whether or not he wants to direct his staff to do this, to recommend that things be expedited, then they be expedited outside of the 14-day window, and that's fine. There's nothing that precludes council from lifting its own procedure to expedite a matter if it feels like it's in the best interest of the community. That's all. I'll leave it at that.
I think. I think we just have to be cognizant of how the speed at which governance works, and I think the frustration is well felt at this table, not only from members of council, but from staff members as well. And I think we just need to possibly investigate ways that we can help each other to move things along quicker when possible, like you've done in the past by requesting bylaws be included. I think that this report doesn't preclude that. Yep. Absolutely.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the problem with that is if staff are staff always gonna be ready for the bylaw if council chooses to do that. Like,
That's about
it comes back to the same, like, there's stuff that should be coming to us that still hasn't, and we're waiting for it. And we know that time's
yes.
time's gonna run out at one point. So now if we say, okay, we'll count today, hey, that should be done now. Can we have this back in bylaw in the same meeting? If council doesn't have a bylaw ready, then it doesn't change anything. But then the argument could also be made, if the bylaw is ready, then why wait? Like, it just feels like, I don't know, and it's not just here, like, if you look at provincially and federally, both governments in power right now are. And I'm not saying they're doing it the right way, but are moving legislation to try and fast track projects, because it takes forever to get anything done in this country. Well, it takes forever to get anything done within the municipality at times. And it's frustrating, which is,
Yeah.
finish out.
No, absolutely. I think it's well felt, and I think you expressed that well. Yeah. Any comments?
Yeah, I mean-
CAO Smith?
Madam Mayor, the rationale for this is we heard comments from council, heard comments from public, and a review was necessary. And, I can fully appreciate, the comments, council, regarding, delays. But there are certain processes that as staff, we have to go through. And that does create, sometimes a slower process.
Thank you. Councillor Owen?
Yeah, through you, your worship, just to follow up on Casey's point. When I talk to residents down, they voice something that they want me to bring to administration's attention, step. I tell them, nothing happens fast here. And that's not the answer I should be giving them. I should be able to say to them, you'll have an answer within a week and action within 2 weeks. But, you know, perfect example is my request to make the intersection of Allen Avenue and Second Street safer. How many months ago did that request go in? And I've been told the answer's not coming until August. Well, that's not giving excellence in service. And I don't, and that's just an example that's at my head. There's another issue that I'm working on. And I've been working on it for over a month. And I had to tell the woman. And she understood, but not everybody understands, and quite frankly, I don't think we're giving excellence in service by making people wait that long.
I think you're. I think. you're
Yeah,
kind of-
okay, I'm
yeah.
kind of,
But it does speak well to the notice. It does speak to the overall issue. I think you're just veering off
Yeah,
a
yeah.
little bit too far.
anyways, I'm just as frustrated as Councillor Owens.
Yes, I don't know. Yeah.
There's something for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in terms of the impacts of this notice policy. If it's the will of council, that when you hear the members of the public speak at a public meeting, if it's the will of council to have a public meeting. To weigh in on this, if the public is fine with going from 14 days to 5 days, and there's no comments, then that's the will of council to decide upon that. Whether administration makes a recommendation that we don't move from 14 to 5, it's ultimately council's decision. And if you're not getting any feedback from the public on the material change from 14 to 5, nothing precludes council from going with the 5-day notice period, which would mean that, and I want to give members of council the opportunity to know this. You're receiving a council report on the same night that you're asking your members of senior management team to get you a contract and a bylaw. And they may not have that contract or bylaw. They may have not been able to get the legal advice or incur costs or get advice in general to finalize those documents until they actually have your direction to move forward with an item. So that's the major concern in presenting an item at the same time as a bylaw, or a bylaw at the same time as an item. Plus, if the bylaw is not prepared, sorry, I should read back up. I'm the only one that drafts bylaws for the most part at the municipality. So if the member of staff don't have all the information they require, I won't have all the information required in order to place it in the bylaw. Which means we haven't published it the 5 days before to let the public know that it would be coming down the pipeline at the same time as the item. And it's deceiving to the members of the public when they see the bylaw on the agenda, because it looks like it's already perceived by council to go forward. So if you're receiving an item, let's say, we're changing the doors. We're changing the doors to orange on the building. The bylaws coming for us to enter into the contract to change the doors to orange in the building on the same night, but you haven't even decided whether or not you want to change the doors to orange. So to the public, they're seeing a report that's coming, a recommendation from staff that's saying we're changing the doors to orange, and a bylaw that's saying we're entering into a contract with ABC 123 company to change the doors to orange. When council hasn't even made a decision on that yet, and that bylaw is what governs the actual decision of council to move forward with something. And I should also mention to you that this 5-day proposed notice policy in front of you, if it's the will of council to go with this, there's nothing wrong with that, because where we've identified where we would have to move things forward, we could have a delegation of authority bylaw put in front of you at a future meeting to identify, to move things along a little quicker. It's just council's going to have to identify that when it does receive a delegation of authority bylaw, it means that some of these reports may not even come to council now. The bylaws may come to council, but the reports may not come to council. So there's gonna have to be that discussion about the medium in which you receive information. Or decide upon information if you don't use that delegated authority.
Counselor Owens and then Counselor Major.
Reading Madam Mayor, so 2 points. First, if need be, we always have the power to defer something. If we're not satisfied, if we're not happy, we can defer.
Right.
To comment on the analogy of door A, B, and C that you wanna change. Usually, the municipality will go through a process, an RFP. To get a con submissions to change door A, B, and C, right?
Yeah.
You guys publish on the website, unofficial results. And
No, sorry.
It depends on
Depends
what
on-
issue.
okay,
Depends on
so
the-
but I will say, so I can go on the RFP website right now. And I can tell you, I could have told you a little while ago who we were gonna vote for tonight. For the pad at the complex, because it was unofficially posted on the website. Same thing for the connecting link, it was unofficially posted on the website. So I do my research. I do like to read what's going on in RFPs, I go through them and. There's a lot of information in that, but we know ahead of time who we're gonna vote on, so for something like that. It's a no-brainer for me that, okay, well, your bylaws should be ready, if you're unofficially saying that they got the contract. I've only seen once in 6 years council not go with. Who was presented, and that caused a whole blah. When that happened. And I voted against it at the time, but it's never. Unofficially, the results are there. So tomorrow, when the contract for the garbage finishes. Or closes, you will post something in the next few weeks saying, hey, this is who unofficially got it. And council goes with that. Right? Or am I wrong?
You meant. Your analogy of the doors and the RFP, again, depends on the dollar amount. So if it was a very low dollar amount, you don't have to issue an RFP. So, but when they do come up, yes, they are on the website.
Can I supplement?
Absolutely.
When they're over a certain amount, they have to come back to council for approval. And I've seen in certain circumstances where we have our directors are on the fence on whether or not. To present the recommended option is in fact the. Unofficial bid, let's say. The unofficial person, for prime example, we just had a tax sale. We had an unofficial minutes of the tax sale. We had a rejected. Vote or a rejected bid. After the review formally took place, so there could have been an argument in that. Tender process for that specific property. So it's not just to say that. We're publishing unofficial stuff on the website. It's also to identify that council has a responsibility to give staff direction. On how to proceed with the matter, and sometimes we can't. It doesn't logically make sense for us to bring a bylaw and a contract in front of you on the same night. If there's something that's different, if you decide to go in a different direction with your direction. So. That's kind of, the bylaws is the execution bylaws, they give the authority for us to enter into those contracts. And we can't do that unless we go the direction of council.
I think, so, yeah, go on, okay, so sorry, I'm gonna interject.
Go ahead.
So Madam Clerk and I had a conversation today. About my understanding. Of this specifically and how things go about. So I consider all this time. When we make a decision on a report from council, that's the decision. The bylaw is the rubber stamping. Of what we decided previously. This is how my mind grasped. How we do business. That the decision that we vote on is after the report and the bylaw is just all the legalese and everything. But Madam Clerk explained that it's actually kind of the opposite. It is the actual bylaw that is the actual meat and potatoes of the decision. Where I always considered the roundtable discussion, the meat and potatoes. So I think that's too, when I first looked at this as well, I was like, I didn't understand how it all fit together. And I don't think it's the notice that's slowing things down. I think there's other issues that are slowing things down. I think. But, yes, I am glad this report came to council, because at least it's opening the conversation at the time. Councilor Ranger.
Great, thank you through you, Madam Mayor. I liked Casey's comments, when there's an unofficial company or bid success, it would be beneficial, perceived by the public and us, to get these things going. And the Madam Mayor's comments, that they may be in other areas, is where I wanted to talk about. I think we can all, well, I'll speak for myself, the word or the phrase I've been using is bottlenecking. There's in some departments that, because of, you know, how well things proceed to be going in our community. People are expecting, buildings to be popped up and, just don't understand the things that need to go on in the background, and then that can be frustrating. Because they don't come to public meetings, they don't read online, but they certainly have opinions. And that's where I love these public meetings, because if and when I do get approached, it's like, come to the public meeting, or did you attend the meeting? Because you had an opportunity to make suggestions and ask questions, but I'll say it publicly, nobody's attending, but we'll continue to have these meetings so that I can continue to, you know, remind people they have the opportunity as a taxpayer to come and express their opinions, just like we took ours to the next level to become counselors and support those decisions, informed decisions, because the reports are coming from those in the departments who need to take the time to get all the information so that it's presented to us. Here's the caveat and what I think is very important, and I would like to see continue to improve. The lack of education for the public on how this business of the municipality works. They have no idea. And as a first-time counselor, it has been a real eye-opener. And so I would really like to encourage that there be more public information on the website on how the day-to-day operations actually happen and how things take a long time, perceived a long time, but departments don't have one item on the burner. They have 20, 30, 50, depending on the season, depending on what's going on, where the funding's coming from, how they're applying for grants. The government decided they have some money available. Well, they gotta drop everything and then do a proposal. These are things, the day-to-day operations, they don't necessarily need to know, but how things get to us and how we can't move forward because, you know, we need to wait, is important, because again, there's that liability, responsibility, and accountability of counselors, that we lean on you, the CAO, the clerk, the department heads, senior management, to make sure that they have provided us with all of the information so that we can make an informed decision. Those are my comments. Thank
So
you.
I think we're getting a little off topic again.
Yep.
I do appreciate the leave of all members of council and staff here, that I think it's important to have these conversations, and because we only get to speak once every 2 weeks at meetings, sometimes being able to kind of go outside the lines for a moment is beneficial to kind of get the pulse on what's the feeling is. Is there any further comments on this report, or as the motion states, the public meeting therein?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I just wanted to make a note of council in the recommendation. It identifies that the notice policy be brought forward for 2 readings on July 22nd. Now, that's the same day as your public meeting, and that was taking into consideration the new public notice period. So if it's the will of council to look at that date at a later meeting or at the same meeting, however it wants to deal with that, this July, we're not stuck on this July 22nd date. If council wants to pass the notice policy on the July 22nd date, I can certainly bring the bylaw on that date. But if council, after receiving comments from the public, feels it doesn't want to or wants to have another conversation about the notice policy, then we can certainly defer the bylaw and the conversation to maybe a committee of the whole meeting or another meeting of council.
Anything further? Council Ranger.
Just on that note, as counselor, we've already improved on changing the calendar and not having only one meeting in July and August, which is going to help push things along, and I think those are just some minor things that we've done. Thanks.
Absolutely. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Item carried. Item number 6.6, concrete pad installation contract award, moved by Councilor Ranger, seconded by Councilor Kylie.
Be it resolved that report number 2025-3 entitled concrete pad installation contract award be received, and that council hereby award the contract to Peterson Construction Inc. for the provision of construction services as outlined and scope of work identified within 61925 RFT as presented in the amount of $157,880 plus HSD, and finally that an execution bylaw be brought forward for 3 readings on July 22nd, 2025.
Thank you. Kim Clockers, Director of Community Services, will be presented. You may proceed.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, through you to council. So the report in front of you tonight is a fairly straightforward report. It is to award the contract for the concrete pad installation at the old pool to Pedersen Construction Inc. This request for tender was issued in May 2025, and we received 2 bids for the tender. And we recommend awarding the contract to Pedersen Construction, as the other proponents bid came in approximately $46,000 more. The timelines were similar and the scope of work was the same. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions or comments from members of council? Oh, Councilor Owen.
Yeah, through you, your worship, I think it's important to note that we got funding on this project, that we are not paying the full amount. So I think it's important taxpayers know that we are being very cautious with spending their money. Thank you.
And that's listed in the financial considerations in this report, anyone wants to read it.
Yes, Councilor Kylie.
Through you, your worship. I've missed a few meetings because of illness. But have we actually come up with a plan of what we're doing with the old pool?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councilor Kylie. In terms of the plan of what this space will be down the road, no, that has not come to council yet, and ultimately it will be a council decision. There has been some public consultation. I believe there's a delegation coming, and there will be public meetings when the time comes. But this funding through NOHFC will get us to a usable, functional space in the meantime that we can use for many things.
Thank you.
Sorry, just for clarification, it's just to get a floor, basically.
Yes, the pool has been filled with
Yeah.
Clearstone thanks to the Public Works Department. And we will have a concrete pad, and with the bid coming in at 157,000, we will have some extra money, funded money to start remediating some walls and hopefully the roof as well.
Councilor Owen, follow up.
Yeah, through you, your worship, I had a conversation with the mayor earlier today, in which I suggested that perhaps we should put this off. But I changed my mind after talking to the mayor, and she pointed out to me, without identifying the groups, that there are a number of groups that have already expressed an interest in using that space. And as such, she convinced me that we should go ahead at this time. So I thank the mayor for that. You should thank the mayor for that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Anything further from members of council? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Item carried unanimous. Item number 7, consideration of notice of motions. One has been deferred by Councilor Regoen. Item number 8, introduction, reading, and consideration of bylaws. 8.1, moved by Councilor Ranger, seconded by Councilor Owens.
Be it resolved that, yes, thank you. Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read, numbered, passed, signed by the mayor municipal clerk, and sealed, the corporation be affixed thereto. Bylaw number 2538 being a bylaw to stop at the closed parts 2 and 3 of Plan 54R 6438 Township of Tech, now Town of Kirkland Lake, District of Temiskaming, east of Lot 693, Plan M118T.
All in favor? Opposed, none noted, item carried unanimous. Item 8.2, moved by Counselor Owen, seconded by Counselor Ranger.
Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read, numbered, passed, signed by the mayor and municipal clerk, and the sealed incorporation be affixed thereto. Bylaw number 2539 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of documents related to the sale of parts 1, 2, and 3 of Plan 54R 6438.
All in favor? Opposed, none noted, item carried unanimous. Item 8.3, moved by Counselor Owens, seconded by Counselor Owen.
Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read, numbered, passed, signed by the mayor and municipal clerk, and the sealed incorporation be affixed thereto. Bylaw number 2540 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an easement agreement with Michael Francisini over parts 1 and 3 of Plan 54R 6438.
All in favor? Opposed, none noted, item carried unanimous. Item number 8.4, moved by Counselor Kylie, seconded by Counselor Ranger.
Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read, numbered, passed, signed by the mayor and municipal clerk, and the sealed incorporation be affixed thereto. Bylaw number 2541 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of documents related to the sale of 3 McKelvey Avenue.
All in favor? Opposed, none noted, item carried unanimous. Item 8.5, moved by Counselor Owen, seconded by Counselor Owens.
Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read, numbered, passed, signed by the mayor and municipal clerk, and the sealed incorporation be affixed thereto. Bylaw number 2542 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of documents related to the sale of part mining claim L182029 Old Tennis Courts.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item 8.6, moved by Counselor Ranger, seconded by Counselor Owens.
Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read, numbered, passed, signed by the mayor and municipal clerk, and the sealed incorporation be affixed thereto. Bylaw number 2543 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of documents related to the sale of 7 and 9 Main Street.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item 8.7, moved by Counselor Owen, seconded by Counselor Ranger.
Owens.
Owen with an N, sorry, with no S.
Sorry, it's.
Sorry, yeah, no, that's
Be it
fine.
resolved that the following bylaw be read, numbered, passed, signed by the mayor and municipal clerk, and the sealed incorporation be affixed thereto. Bylaw number 2544 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of documents related to the sale of 70 Balsam Avenue.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item 8.8, moved by Counselor Owens. Aggressively with an S.
could probably say Casey and.
Yeah, probably. There we go. Okay, that's it all. Counselor Ranger.
Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read, numbered, passed, signed by the mayor and municipal clerk, and the sealed incorporation be affixed thereto. Bylaw number 2545 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of documents related to the sale of 72 Balsam Avenue.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 9, questions from council to staff. There were none submitted prior to this council meeting. Item number 10, notices of motion. None noted. Item number 11, councilors' reports. May I have a mover? Counselor Ranger, seconded by Counselor Casey.
Be it resolved that the verbal updates from member of council be received.
Okay, anything from members of council? Counselor Owen.
Yes, through you, your worship. First off, I want to explain, because I feel bad that twice I've deferred my notice of motion. Away from the council table, I have a number of commitments and obligations and other things going on at the moment, and they've all come to a head at about the same time. And as a result, in trying to balance my personal life with my council commitment, I've had to defer that, but I'm hoping by next council meeting, I will have that motion ready. Okay, Canada Day. What a fantastic day that was in Kirkland Lake. It's unlike anything I've seen in recent history. I started by going to Day in the Park at put on by Toburn Operating Authority. And it continues to grow. Their antique or collectible cars or whatever the proper term is, they keep getting more. Of course, the gold panning is just super popular with all the kids and, you know, my hat goes off to Mike Leahy, a very well-known prospector and geologist Mike Sutton for having all the patience in that heat to deal with the youngsters. The Kirkland Lake Arts Club was there. Dave Rogers and his band was there, a perennial favorite. And the thing that impressed me the most is that the Toblerone Operating Authority continues to make improvements to that park. It's a while since I've been there, but they they put in walkways and there's a bandstand sort of thing, a pavilion type thing. The other thing that really surprised me was that my 8-year-old grandson actually watched the video on geology and asked questions about it. And I was so impressed because, you know, I think of those kind of things as educational and educational more for adults. So, yeah, it was very impressive. After that, I went to civic service and I was blown away. I just could not believe the number of attractions, the amount of people. And it was just amazing. And to think that the Lions Club, a small group of volunteers, could pull off such an extraordinary event. And I'm not using that word lightly. I mean, it was amazing. And it takes a lot to impress me. But yeah, my hat goes off to the Lions Club. They, you know, and you know, what other town can you go from one event to another and, you know, you have a whole day of celebrating Canada's birthday. So I'm just amazed by the volunteers of Toblerone and volunteers of the Lions Club and the participants. You know, the pride is coming back, I feel. You know, people are proud now to be from Kirkland Lake. So thank you to all the volunteers.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Anything from Councillor Owens?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I too participated in the Canada Day event. It was an awesome event. It was well done. You were told in one of the comments from a resident that volunteers can't pull off an event on Canada Day, but when the festivals committee did it, they were volunteers. The Lions Club is volunteers and they pulled off something to be proud of. So whoever that person is, I'm not afraid to say you were wrong. So I don't know who they were, but they were wrong. That was one event. The other one, I participated with Madam Mayor to the 2x3 cutting for
Oh,
the grand reopening of Rose Castle Business Center. Beautiful store. He did an amazing job getting back to where he is now. It's something Kirkland can be proud of. And I started the cut, but I didn't finish it. I'll let Madam Mayor say more to that. But for the record, I don't even ask my students to use a handsaw anymore, like actual power tools. There's no fun in using a handsaw. So even though you can do amazing things.
Thank you for that. Anything further? So I do want to acknowledge that I missed this first item last council meeting. I want to and kindly reminded, Agnico Eagle sponsored and supported the cleaning of the highway with volunteers from our community. And I just want to say how amazing our community members are to go out and to clean up. This is something that you don't have to do. It's not in your backyard per se. It's not on your street, in front of your home. This was something that the Agnico Eagle put out and the members of the public got on board with. And when Rick speaks to community pride, you can see it. And I just really want to let the community know how much it's appreciated that people still care enough to go out and do this when you don't have to. And so, of course, Agnico Eagle are incredible community partners, but as well, it's just the individuals going out and walking down that highway, you know, and spending a few hours to do that. It really does mean a lot and it has a deep impact. And so I do thank community members for everything they do. So the Office of the Mayor in the last 2 weeks, I attended the library meeting in which the board welcomed Alan, Lloyd, Kim, and Bonnie to discuss the memorandum of understanding between the town and the Texcentennial Library Board. We look forward to discussions again in September when that board meets again. I attended Extended Care to present certificates to seniors in light of Seniors Month for June. It was the last public appearance of the chain of office. And I have to say, what an impact telling the story of the chain of office to people that remember the people that contributed to that piece is incredible. The history, it was developed in 1967, and then the stones were put in place in the 80s by Mayor Joe Mavernack. And it is such an honor for this term of council to update it and bring it into the now. And it will look and reflect the Kirkland Lake brand. And so it was really just such a pleasure to be at Extended Care and award those certificates to the clients or the residents and speak to them about that chain of office. I did attend the ribbon cutting of the youth hub in the basement of the Stope. And that is going to be held the third Friday of each month. Again, volunteers coming out to support, you know, fellow community members. The work that the Multicultural Society does and the Stoke does for our community. Honestly, the offerings that they have there is top notch, and they're really, really contributing to a better community, in my opinion. I did attend the Pride Walk on Saturday and the community barbecue at Rotary Park. What a wonderful afternoon. It was really uplifting, even though it's quite windy. And the Rotary Park is such an exceptional area in our downtown core. And hopefully, like, we see more of this and utilization more frequently from user groups. I just really encourage user groups to get a hold of Rotary and see what they can do in that downtown core area. It's just beautiful. I did attend the Filipino Fiesta dinner and meal at the museum. I met with DSAB CAO and our Director of Development and Enterprise Services regarding housing in the area. I did go to Cobalt for the train station reopening. Not only is it important for us to go to these events when we're invited, it's because we make those connections. And there are fellow elected officials throughout our little district. And we get to talk about and celebrate each other's successes, because when you look at tourism, we are all the North. And I think by celebrating each other, it in turn gives them the opportunity to celebrate and announce the stuff that's going on with us as well. So it's kind of reciprocal in that area. Then, CAO Smith, Director Laverdew, and I actually welcomed our counterparts from Temiskaming Shore, the mayor, the CAO, and economic development from Temiskaming Shores to talk about, again, the same kind of things, like general interest, mutual interest items. And again, we're gonna go to them next time. And so it gave us also the opportunity, I took the opportunity to ask, what did you notice about Kirkland Lake when you came through? And I love the ability to have that outside feedback in real time from people that are just down the highway, and it was just a brilliant afternoon. And last, this past week, speaking about openings, we had grand openings and reopenings, 3 in a row in the town of Kirkland Lake, and I just think it really shows and highlights people are coming here. People are investing here, and I know there's more to come, because when we were, just after we finished cutting the piece of wood by hand, an individual came to us and talked about an endeavor that they're undertaking, and you can kind of see it in the downtown core. There's some construction work happening. And this individual, again, saw something that Kirkland Lake was lacking. And they're going full in and building something else and investing in our community. And I just think it's incredible how often we're seeing new businesses, old businesses rejuvenate. And I just honestly and truly, I know I'm always the cheerleader, but you can feel it in the air. People are investing and coming to Kirkland Lake. So that is all on that. All in favor? Opposed? Item carried. After all that. For item number 12 is additional information. Do we have a mover? Counselor Ranger and seconded by Counselor Kylie.
Excuse me, be it resolved, the council sanction a proclamation for National Drowning Prevention Week, July 20th to 26th, 2025, in the town of Kirkland Lake.
Thank you. Whereas the mission of Life Saving Society Canada is to prevent drowning throughout this great country, and even one drowning in Ontario is one too many. And whereas most drownings are preventable in a water smart community, and only through water smart education and healthy respect for potential danger that any body of water may present, can we genuinely enjoy the beauty and recreation opportunities offered by these bodies of water. And whereas the Life Saving Society urges Canadians and residents of Ontario to supervise children who are in and around the water, to refrain from drinking alcoholic beverages while participating in aquatic activities, and to always wear a life jacket when boating. And whereas the United Nations General Assembly passed the UN Resolution on Drowning Prevention, A75L76, and named July 25th of each year as World Drowning Prevention Day. And whereas Life Saving Society Canada has declared July 20th to the 26th, 2025, National Drowning Prevention Week to focus on the drowning problem and the hundreds of lives that could be saved each year. Now, therefore, I, Stacy White, Mayor of the Town of Kirkland Lake, do hereby proclaim July 20th through the 26th, 2025, as National Drowning Prevention Week in the Town of Kirkland Lake. All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. At this point, we're going to take a recess before moving into closed. Thanks, everyone. Okay, we are now reconvening from recess to go into close. We have a mover.
Sure.
Moved by Counselor Rick and seconded by Counselor Casey.
Be it resolved, the council adjourn in camera pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. Discuss personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local boards, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, information explicitly supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board by Canada, province or territory or crown agency of any of them, and the position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board at 6:15 p.m. for the following reasons. Items 13.1, indigent unclaimed burial management, and item 13.2, insurance and legal update.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Okay, we'll now rise from in camera, moved by Counselor Casey, is seconded by Counselor Rick.
Be it resolved, the council reconvene in open session at 7:12 p.m.
It's very tough. We were this on that side. Item number 14, matters of pecuniary interest arising from in camera.
Yes.
Counselor Ranger.
Well, you're gonna have to.
Read it again.
You can
Yeah,
read it again, but you
yeah.
have to fill it.
Fill out a second one.
Oh. One for open, one closed.
Got it.
I'll get you. So. This is closed,
There it is. There it is.
right there. Give you it. Give you.
I, Janice Ranger, am declaring an indirect pecuniary interest on the agenda of the meeting dated July 8th, 2025, and closed, now, sorry, an open meeting. Agenda item number
14.1.
14.1. Same title?
Yep.
Indigenous and unclaimed burial management update. It is deemed indirect. I am the partner of a person with a pecuniary interest. The nature of my interest is that information in the report identifies my spouse as the director of client services at the time the information was given, and he is also a board member of the funeral co-op. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 14.1, Indigenous Unclaimed Burial Management Update. Mover. Counselor Kylie, seconded by Counselor Red.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 ADM 009 entitled Indigent Unclaimed Burial Management Update be received. And that council direct administration to draft an indigent unclaimed burial management policy. And finally, that the draft policy be presented at the regular meeting of council on July 25th, 2025.
All in favor? Opposed? Sorry,
I can't vote.
oh, sorry. All in, sorry, yes,
Thank you.
that's what I did too. All in favor? Opposed, none noted, item carried unanimous. Item number 15, confirmation bylaw 15.1, moved by Counselor Rick, seconded by Counselor Casey.
Be it resolved that the following bylaw be laid numbered passed signed by the mayor and municipal clerk and the seal of the corporation be fixed thereto. Bylaw number 2546 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held Tuesday, July 8th, 2025.
All in favor? Opposed, none noted, item carried unanimous. Item number 16, adjournment, moved by Counselor Casey Owens.